How did this journey begin where you started FILMAGE?
Well, it started, as fans, obviously. We were just huge fans of the band. Dito LaCour, he's the co-director, producer. He and I used to play in this band, and we went to Tulsa whenever Stefan moved to Oklahoma, and we had Stefan produce one of our records. And so that was like in '04, and that was kind of, the first time we had talked about it with them. And, over the next 5 years, every now and then we would just talk about it with him. And, the timing was just kind of right, for Bill getting out of his medical stuff. When he kind of woke up from that, he was like, yeah, let's do it, So timing played a huge part in it for us. I think there was 2 other crews in the last 10 years before that who were trying to make a documentary, and they would kind of run up against the Bill wall and where he would either not cooperate or he would try to control it or something. But with us, he was totally hands off. So, timing, I would say, is the main thing.
Yeah. I'll take a look out here. We got lots of light here, so I should be able to see hands up if you want to put it up and ask Matt anything about the film.
Or not.
Or intimate things about his life or the band or whatever you feel like, right? Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, people never want to ask anything.
That's okay.
I bring it out of them.
I'll get it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go that chat.
So when you met Bill, what was it like?
Well, it's in the movie, actually. Well, that's not the first time, but, him looking in the camera cursing, that was us in the first couple of shoots with him. But, no, it took a year before he did an interview with us. We did interviews. We knew Stefan pretty well, and Stefan's the nicest guy in the world, And Bill is totally nice once you know him, but he's very weird. That's one thing that comes across a little bit, but not. I don't know. Has anybody met the guy or tried to meet the guy? There you go. So you may know. It depends which Bill which Bill showed up that day. Because I've been around him where he's, he did this 3-hour interview with us where he's very articulate and smart. And then I've been around him where he will only recite Beavis and Butthead, scenes. And so he's a strange dude, man. And so I think it took him a little while to trust us a little, to realize that we weren't just some, dumb kids who were, we're going to start this movie and we're not going to follow through. I think he finally realized, okay, this could be kind of cool. And so it took a while. He was, toward the end of the process. He was one of the last interviews. So.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about, Matt, before was all the footage you have, which is some amazing stuff. So maybe kind of go through that and how you got it, and then how you had to cull through it.
Right.
And what were you looking for when you're looking for all that live footage, especially a lot of the Descendents stuff?
Right. Well, we put a call out to fans, and on Facebook, and the Descendents put it out on their website, and so a lot of that stuff has never been seen before because it was either on somebody's shelf somewhere or actually at the end, kind of in the 11th hour, Bill was like, oh yeah, I have 12 boxes of tapes and pictures if you want those, So, but a lot of it was just fans coming forward, still people are emailing us with tattoos of, or something they have, seeing if we can shoehorn it in the movie. And so, that, and culling through it all, that was, Deedle did the most, culling. And Deedle's very, detail-oriented, and so he would make sure to get the best version. He wouldn't just get something off YouTube. He would hunt down the person who uploaded it and find the VHS tape that they had, and we would get that. So that's why it looks pretty cool because a lot of times it's the original source in most cases. But it was there was so much footage that we got that obviously didn't make it in the movie. We tried to use at least snippets of kind of everything just to show the texture because, when you have a 30-year career and it's in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you're going to have very distinctive looks, of film, VHS, 3/4-inch tape, just all that stuff. So, it's just we had a mound of stuff to work with. And, just kind of whatever we needed, something was there. Live shot from 1988. Bam, here's that stack. Let's find something from that.
Yeah. More from the audience as well. We got a guy back there.
Hey.
Hey.
I was wondering, is there a reason that you guys kind of left out some of that Tony All stuff?
Yeah. Well, Tony All. Yeah, that was one thing. it just kind of didn't fit, unfortunately. I love that record, and yeah, we totally bypassed it. That's the one record that didn't show up at all, if you don't include the live records. But there wasn't a real specific reason. It's just trying to tell the convoluted story, you know, and that kind of came up while they were all, so just kind of, it just didn't work to go back. Plus, Tony didn't really talk about it much. We're kind of at the mercy of what they wanted to talk about. He said a little bit, but Tony was just like, yeah, you know, Bill owed me some money, but instead he said, oh, I'll record a record. You know, that's basically the story he gave us. And so it wasn't that compelling, but great record. The last song on that record is still one of my favorite songs, man. Special to you. Special to me, sorry. Special to you, too.
More hands, any more hands, more hands. Yep, right there.
So you were talking about, obviously, the decades of stuff that you had to go through, and that must be really daunting to put it all in one piece of work. So was there anything that you feel pretty choked that you weren't able to include?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. Really, the interviews. Like I said, Bill's interview alone, you know, it was 3 hours. And that in of itself it's like a movie in of itself, because he's just such a interesting, articulate guy. And, you know, there was a lot of, I would say a lot of sound bites that we wanted to use that ended up having to be cut because somebody else said it, you know, more succinctly or something. But I mean, yeah, I'll tell you the part that I really wish could have been in there was the tribute to Frank. It said at the end, you know, in dedication to him. You know, that guy, he died in 2008. We didn't get to interview him or meet him or anything. And I knew nothing about that guy before starting this project. I just knew he was their first guitar player and wrote, you know, I'm Not a Loser and stuff. But, you know, he's really the guy. Bill credits him with, you know, he's the guy. He started a band. He inspired Bill. He got Bill into punk rock, you know, and all this stuff. And so not being able to include that, there's this cool little section we had where everybody from, you know, Stefan, Carl, everybody who wasn't even in the band with Frank, they talk about him because Frank came back and was kind of in the picture, just hung out with them for about a month at a time every year. And he was a very just sweet, talented guy who had a lot of mental problems. I mean, they say that he was, you know, I don't know what the correct term is, but he was really legitimately insane and psychotic in times, you know, which you hear it in his guitar playing, you know. But so anyway, but they, you know, they attribute a lot of the attitude of the band to that guy. So it was kind of a shame that hit the cutting room floor, but it'll be on the DVD and stuff. But you know, there's all kinds of stuff, stories that we just couldn't include because it was just too much.
Yeah, good. Some really great stuff there. Anybody else there with hands up as well, put them up, and we'll chat more. Maybe talk a little bit about Deedle and your partnership with him and how your working relationship goes in making this film too, because, you know, you both have to fill specific roles maybe. Yeah.
Well, you know, Deedle and I started it, and the plan, I mean, we had talked about doing it, and he said, you know, that he's like, he's the one who kept bringing it up every few years, like, oh, maybe we should do this, and finally we all just kind of said, yeah, let's do it. And it was 4 of us, really. It was Deedle and I, and then James Rayburn, lead editor, and Justin Wilson, who was the DP. And we all kind of wore the hats of everything. We were all editors, we're all, you know, really kind of everything, and so we're all shooters and stuff. So you know, the credits, we just kind of said, yeah, I'm the writer, Deedle was the producer, James is the editor, and Justin's the DP. But we all kind of, you know, we had our ups and downs. It's a 3-year project, you know, and to, you know, sustain you know, to endure a project like that, as anybody who else has done a film or any long-term project, it's impossible if you don't have a team of sorts, even if it's just 1 or 2 other people who can kind of be, you know, carried along while you're kind of at your low point and you're burnt out. And then, you know, so it's just kind of this, you know, roller coaster ride. And as long as somebody's always there to pull it along, and a lot of times it's Deedle. Deedle's kind of the even keel guy, never high, never low kind of a thing. I wouldn't say he's never high, but he's, but no, so yeah, Deedle's really kind of carried this thing on his back the whole way. And I just, you know, I did all the interviews and I kind of wrote the script and all that, but Deedle made sure that the thing got made, you know.
Right. More from the audience. Yes, right there.
How easy was it for you to gain access to people like Dave Grohl or all the musicians you?
Yeah, I mean, Dave Grohl, that one, you know, people of that, you know, I mean, as he says, he's a huge fan, and once we got access to him, he wanted to do it and loved to do it, but getting access to people like that is hard, you know, so we went through, actually with him, tried to get through his management, dead end, you know, publicists, dead end, all this kind of stuff, and then finally we were talking with Bill, and just, you know, mentioned to him, we were trying to get Grohl, and he's like, oh, well, want me to just email him, you know, so Bill actually just sent him an email, and he was like, fuck yeah, come on down. So, you know, yeah, that just tells you how important, you know, Bill is to that guy. But, yeah, some of the others, I'm trying to think, you know, Mike Watt, people like that, I mean, a lot of people, they love this band, either as people or their music or both. And so you know, as soon as they would find out about it, they would just get in line to, you know, gush on camera about them, you know. So, you know, again, that would be Deedle. Deedle lined up all the interviews and saw to it, you know, scheduling and all that kind of stuff, which was just huge.
I think they were just
So, yeah.
chatting, that's all.
Okay. They're working.
Other questions? Yes, absolutely. Who didn't you get? I think is what she said.
Who didn't we get?
Yeah.
There wasn't really anybody specific. You know, there was the whole Green Day thing where, I don't know if you guys know this, there's this little bit of a rivalry, and so we kind of were trying to get to the bottom of that because we know, and you know, that like Green Day was influenced by the band, but there's also this thing where Billy Joe had like bashed them in a magazine and all this stuff. So, you know, that was something that interested me, and you know, we reached out to them just kind of half-assed, you know, and they didn't have any interest. But I wouldn't say that was really a loss, but that was one thing that comes to mind. Like I say, everybody else kind of just, anybody we contacted, you know, tried to make it happen. Yeah, I don't know. We've been asked about Henry Rollins, why he wasn't in it, but that's just because we didn't ask him. Yeah, that's really the only reason. He's in every other documentary, so he doesn't need to be in this one. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't very many. You know, it was over 50 people, I think, got interviewed. You know, and so it was, you know, hours and hours and hours. So by the end, it was just like, okay, this is enough. You know.
Yeah. More hands up. Anybody else here? Yes.
Have you done other documentary films, and what do you have coming up in the future?
Well, we've all worked like, you know, this is our first one to direct and actually produce and do. You know, I edited just tiny little stuff before, and Deedle, he edits commercials, and he's done he's edited a couple of documentaries, but nothing that's like our project, you know. So it's the first one that we did like this. As far as what's coming up, we don't really know. We're kind of still trying to get this thing, you know, worked out and on your shelf, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. There's talk of doing another one, just kind of the same crew working on it, but we're not sure. Kicking some ideas around.
Yeah, this is fairly early in the process for this film, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, doesn't feel like it, but
No, you've lived with it for 3 years plus
Yeah.
already, but when we talk about audiences, I guess, and being aware of it.
yeah, this is like the third or maybe fourth festival that we've done, and you know, we've been doing these kind of one-off screenings. I mean, that, you know, we're lucky in that this band for 30 years toured, and we have a huge fan base. So we just did this movie, and so you know, we have a little bit of a fan base for the movie, but it's growing, and you know, it's exciting. I mean, it's a band who, I mean, I'd want to see this movie. You know, it's a movie that deserved to get made. A band who, you know, never talked a lot in interviews, never did much, you know, and so, yeah.
Maybe can you address that, like the responsibility that maybe you feel, or the weight of that you and Deedle maybe felt in making the film for this fan base, and looking for that approval, but also at the same time trying to create something that, you know, you guys want to see, or that you feel like it's a story that you need to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. One thing that was cool was that the band was totally hands-off, you know. They did these interviews, they spilled their guts to us, and not once did they ever say, hey, don't include that, or, oh, make sure you do this, or how are you gonna, there was none of that, like not even a question of that. So that's cool on one hand, but the other hand, it's very nerve-wracking, because the first time they saw the movie, was scary, because we weren't sure how, especially Bill. But I sat there and watched Bill Stevenson watch the movie the entire time, and he's just like stone-faced, and then he would just die laughing, and then he would just be back, so we knew he was going to be okay. And he had a few opinions on it, but he liked it and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the fans, as you guys know, and you probably are, some of them are crazy and very hardcore, I mean, we are too. And so people had high expectations, but at the same time, they just want to see something. This is kind of a starting point. There could be 100 films made on this band, each member is so interesting and has their own story. So, we just kind of went with it. The idea in the beginning was, the quest for all. Does that really exist? Is that a thing? That was what I always wondered. Some people are turned off by that, and they think it's just some dumb thing they do. But I was always interested in it, and that was kind of the thrust of the movie. But then we realized, we have to lay this out chronologically and tell this 30-year story in 90 minutes, and so we just kind of did what we could, and I'm sure people have complaints, and they think they're like holes and omissions, but we did what we could.
Yeah, like you said, you've only got so much time to play with, right? More from the audience here, if there's hands up there that I can't see. Yes, again.
Another question.
Yeah.
How challenging was it to fund the project, or was it fairly easy to
fund
money?
To fund it, yeah. I mean, it was all money out of our pocket. We didn't. We got like a year into this thing. We made it was a few flights, and our DP owned most of the equipment, so we didn't have to like rent equipment. And but we were like a year or so into it when we realized, this is really happening. Once we got Bill, I think it was like, okay, this is a movie now. And so we looked up, and we were already, all of us were kind of invested, and we just kind of kept going that way. Now at the end here, there's a lot of money on the licensing side of things, which that's a whole, we're selling. I don't know if anybody who's been on our website, we're pushing like these shirts and posters that we're selling. That's kind of a bit of a kind of like a Kickstarter thing, or like a kick finisher, I think, as James calls it, to kind of help pay for the licensing and all that. But yeah, I mean, pretty cheap movie by a lot of standards, especially when you do it over 3 years, and you just kind of, like I say, it was just airplane flights here and there and sleeping on people's floors, treated it like we were in a band, So.
Mm-hmm. At the back there's a couple of hands. Go for it.
Quick question. Are you going to screen it this year at Fun Fest in Austin?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And they're there this year, yeah. Is there anybody going to Fun this year? Nice.
Yeah. November 9th.
Show when they played again for the first time.
Yeah, that was a great show. That was the first time they had played. Stefan told us at that show.
Filled in for Devo.
Yeah, exactly. The guy from Devo cut his hand or broke his hand, and they got called at the last minute. That's when we got called from Stefan saying, hey, if you guys want to drive down to Austin. We were from Dallas. You guys drive down to Austin, let's start this thing. So that was really the kickoff for it. And Stefan said that they didn't even practice before that. They had practiced by themselves, just kind of, going over the songs. It had been years since they had played. And he said that they all kind of looked at each other on stage and were like, all right, here we go. And, but a band who would rehearse, 6-7 hours a day, 7 days a week for decades, it's going to take a lot to kind of, spook them or get them off their game,
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're kind of under the time crunch of having another screening coming in after. Before we get going here, I'll mention a couple things, and I'm sure Matt wants to mention this, is that you can vote for, things you like at the festival. There are ballots outside, so fill those out, put down FILMAGE, the story Descendents all, and Matt will be eternally grateful. I'm sure you'll probably be sticking around and chatting with people, so if you want to talk to Matt, without having me to facilitate that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
You can do that. And Matt, we want to thank you on behalf of everybody here in the film festival for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And can't wait to see more. It's Filmage the movie, isn't that it? Or
Yeah, FilmageMovie.com.
.com. Yeah.
Get his shirt from there. You know that
They're
goes.
very cool and reasonably priced.
That's right. Somebody's wearing one. Brett's wearing one.
Oh, nice.
There he is.
Bonus. So you can just talk to that guy and say, like, how sweet is that? I would look great in that. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.